bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-dum ba-ba-dum dun 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 da 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 dum bum bum ba dum ba ba dum. Hello, my friends. Oh, hi, Rona. Rona? I think it's Rona from Ajax, Ontario. Yes, of course it's Rona. Hi. Hello, friends. It's great to see everyone. Storming Western Australia. Oh, Tara, is it stormy there? Yeah, well, I don't know. Jetstream get all the way over to you? It must do that at some point. Hi, everyone. So great to see you all. And I love that you're communicating with each other. Where do you live? Where are you in Wisconsin? Oh, hi, Christine from Japan. Nice to see everyone. Hi, Leidy from Charleston. And hi, Susie B. No longer in the Exumas. Hi, friends. So great to see you all. Hello from Montreal, says Irene. Good evening. It's Monday night, and it's 8 o'clock Eastern time, and that means one thing and one thing only, and that is I teach you homeopathy. I want to share it with you. I want you to connect with each other as best you can because you need each other more than perhaps you even realize. For those of you who've been around for a while, you recognize that. But many of you do not realize how important this community is because you can help each other a great deal. So we are going to do our homeopathy tonight, and my name is Joette Calabrese, and I'm here every Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And so that's for those of you who don't know me, but for those who do, welcome, friends. It's great to see you. Love. Hi from Iowa, says Christine. And Graciela from Graciela Rodriguez. Very nice. Hello from Virginia. And Esther. Hi from Washington, D.C. Wow, from Washington, D.C. I used to live in D.C. How nice to see everyone. Okay, let's talk, shall we? The thumbnail said words are powerful. Craft them carefully. When you're helping someone, I'll share my advice on how I've done it as a practitioner, as an educator, and a mom. Now, first, let me say, I'm not perfect at this by any stretch of the imagination. I have made many blunders. I probably still do and don't even recognize it. So first, I want to disclose that I often insert my foot in my mouth. And so I endeavor to keep from doing that. So I thought that perhaps if I talk about it tonight and teach you some of the things that I know, it might inspire me to be even more careful, even more cautious. So before I even get started, I just want to tell you that my article in Homeopathy Today is now, this is just the manuscript, Oh My Aching Head. It's a headache article in Homeopathy Today with the NCH, National Center for Homeopathy, their journal. I've written for them a few times, once many years ago, and then I've been doing it more frequently recently. And I urge you, my friends, to consider joining the NCH, the National Center of Homeopathy. I think they're a great group, and let me just say parenthetically, that years ago when I started, when I joined, I started it in my home, but Jan Wolfenberg, an old friend of mine, actually brought to the group a study guide that was developed and printed by the National Center for Homeopathy, and we used that as our as our undergirding for our studying for a few years. So they no longer have a study guide, but I have to tell you that their study guide influenced my developing and authoring the Gateway to Homeopathy. It wasn't at all like that in many ways, but in other ways it was, because it was a guide that taught mothers how to use homeopathy, mostly mothers and grandmothers. So you might want to take a look. You go to National Center of Homeopathy or Homeopathy Today and become a member. They have very, very inexpensive memberships. So I urge you to do that. And I'm also going to be speaking at the NCH coming up next year sometime. I can't remember. So it's a good organization. All righty, let's talk, shall we? Words are powerful. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you, my friends, I know Jan Wolfenberg, says Vicky from Wisconsin. Come on. Well, when you see Jan, if you do, tell her I love her. We were dear friends many years ago when our children were babies, and now they're all adults and married with their own babies. So she was one of my teachers in massage school. She taught a course in homeopathy. Of course she did. That's what Jan did. All right. So I want to ask you to please, in the comment section, tell me what questions you ask, or questions you're not sure you should ask, or how you go about doing it. I'd like to hear it. Because I have my own, I don't know if I'd call it a method, but I have my own way, and everyone will find their own way of how they ask questions. But this is what has served me best. Let me tell you that when you get to know your client, let's say you're in practice, okay? Or your neighbor, or whomever it is whose case you're taking. When you get to know that person because they give you this information, their sufferings, something changes. There's this chemistry that occurs. It's very rare that it doesn't. This chemistry is between you and this person. It's big. It's privileged. They hand you, and I've said this before, but they hand you their pearls. They hand you their sufferings, their worries, their concerns, their angst, their private moments, their private thoughts. They may not share what they share with you. They may not share with anyone else, including their own spouse sometimes. So when you receive that information, you have to hold it like an infant child with such care and such reverence and such giving them such comfort that this is now in your hands. So their words to you are now held in your hands, and it is your responsibility to keep that just inside you. You don't share it with your husband. You don't, even if it might be an excruciating case and you need to talk about it. No. Now, let me separate this and say, we can report cases in classes. We do it all the time. But the name is changed, the circumstances are changed so that there's no way of identifying. But if your sister-in-law comes to you and asks you for help, you do not divulge anything about that sacred bond. You do not divulge. Not even a whisper. And if someone asks you, say, oh, it's one of those things. It's a private matter. So I have to tell you, we can start with that. Now, their language to you doesn't always have to be in something that you can hear coming from their mouth. It might come from a look. It might come from a tear. It might come from shaking. That's language too. And so you are picking up on that, and you are writing down what they say to you. Now, when you open a case, people often ask me, so what should I ask the person, or what should I say? And this is how I open. I say, so tell me what's going on. Now, in spite of the fact that I already know to a certain degree, because they filled out forms for me, I've had them sign it, and it's a measure of making sure that they understand that it's confidential and that I'm not a medical doctor and I'm not going to prescribe and I'm not going to hand them any medications or anything like that. So I have them fill out a form. And so I have them give me most of the information. But I also have to say that sometimes too much time has evolved and things have changed. That's number one. Number two is they may not be willing to write that much on paper. Number three, they are now in a true relationship. Before it was just pen to paper. Now it's a true relationship. So I ask, what's going on? In spite of the fact that I've read the information that they've sent me or that they've given me. So they tell me. They'll tell you. And if you want to know what the most important condition is, their greatest suffering, Generally speaking, it's number one. Not always, but generally speaking, it's number one. And you're writing it down. And when they say, let's say, I have this strange sensation, and you're writing down strange sensation. I have a strange sensation. You want to write that down. That's very important. So what does that even mean? It's a very broad statement. Go ahead. Tell me a little more. So I'm prompting them. Tell me more. Elaborate. And now I'm not going to say that unless they're not elaborating. So they will automatically, more often than not, do that. Women are often, my friends, loquacious. Men are not. You have to get more, it's a little more difficult to get information generally from men. But women will spill it all out. Women are just like that, generally speaking. So you want to get the information that she's giving you. You don't want to encourage her. I'm going to use as a woman as an example, because more often than not, it's women who will come to you or their children. She's going to share with you as she's experiencing it or as she has experienced it, whatever it may be. Once she's finished, she's taking a pause. Don't hop right in too readily. Listen a little bit further. More may come. And when it comes, you're writing. Now, if you don't understand what she's saying, ask her to repeat it. Could you explain? Could you elaborate? Tell me a little bit more about that. And how you appear. You looking into her eyes when you're not writing. But even then, I can write while looking into someone's eyes because I've been typing so much in these past many years. But if you're not capable of that, you're going to look up after you've finished writing. And you're watching and you're listening. Then you ask her, can you assign a number to that suffering? On a scale of 1 to 10, let's say it's pain. How painful is it? Sometimes people say things like, oh, I'm no good at that. But they don't realize that it's their number. It's not going to be your number. No one else is going to assess it. So whatever her number is what we're going to compare to the next time we meet her. So that number, her number, is as valid as can possibly be because it is hers. She owns that number. On a scale of 1 to 10, that pain is a whopping 8. Okay. Is it all day? Is it only part of the day? If she's not told you this already, you're going to write this all down. And each of her conditions, you want to know what the number is, what she would assign to it, how long it lasts. Is it all day? Is it every day? And also, once she's told you all this information, the next thing you're going to do is, when did this begin? Oh, 3 months ago. Sometimes people say things like, since my vacation. Well, I don't know when the vacation was, but that is important. Since the vacation, what happened on the vacation? Was there something she ate? Did she get one of these before she left for the vacation? Etc., etc. So you're looking for, okay, since the vacation. Okay, now when was your vacation? Now, you're asking very general questions, and your tone of voice is as important as the words that you use. Let me read a little bit what people are saying. Know when to hold 'em, Elizabeth says. Know when to fold 'em. I find case management the most difficult part of being a homeopath, knowing when to stick with the protocol or knowing when to abandon it for another. You're absolutely right, Elizabeth. And that is, of course, what I teach in the Academy. And so for those of you who don't know about the Academy, that is where I teach that. Women that are friends will always tell you what's going on. Yes, and they trust you. And you need to be trustworthy. I do not have a video. Okay, so let's see. Let's see what people are saying. Okay, we're still talking about Jan. Yeah, case management is difficult, Elizabeth. You're absolutely right. But it's doable. You can crack the code. You can absolutely do this. My sister always gives me grief about the 1 to 10 scale because she always says, well, I don't know what a 10 is or what a 10 would feel like. Well, 10 is hell on earth. If you could give her that kind of general idea. 10 is, oh my God, somebody kill me. This pain is absolutely outrageous. Let's say it's pain. And it's hell on earth. 0 is nothing. So then whatever number she comes up with is the number you're going to use. You're going to compare that to in 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, whatever it might be. My father always used to say, I'd say, Dad, so tell me what the pain is like. He'd say, oh, honey. Ugh. Yeah, Dad, I know. Can you give me an ugh? What is that, a 6? Or is it a 9? You got to be more. Come on, Dad. Come on. You can do this. Let's see what else. Just had a friend who was throwing up, had vertigo since returning from vacation. They finally called me, and Nux Vomica and Calculus took care of it in minutes. Good job, Mindy. Nice job. Yes. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that some of the questions that you have, because I know that people worry about whether or not they're asking the correct questions. Meanwhile, I want to tell you that the answers, the questions that you ask are as though you're listening to a friend, someone that you care about, or a relative. So you are asking out of concern. So what else? She tells you about the joints that are painful. She gives you on a scale of 1. It doesn't have to be an exact number, by the way, my friends. It could be a range. It could be the pain is anywhere between a 7 and a 9. It could be a 7 and a 10. So if someone will not give you the number, her number, then just take a guess based on what she's saying, how she's describing it. And then you can always adjust that if she finally gives you a number. Because sometimes as people talk about it, it's revealed to them what they need to share with you. I want to make sure that, well, I've got a thought I want to put out here, but let me just say this first. She's a friend. You only just met her, but she's still a friend. I want you to think of it like that. Think of it almost like, not quite a cocktail party, because cocktail parties are a little more superficial. You're moving from one person to another. Within minutes, you move over to some, then you meet someone new. You might ask a few questions to get an idea of who they are. It's not quite a cocktail party. It's a little more intimate. It's more like here it is, a girls' weekend away. Okay, let's say your old high school friends get together once a year and you stay in a cabin, and somebody's got some suffering that she's going through, some issue. You're going to listen. You're going to really pay attention and listen. That's what you're doing here. I also want to make sure that you understand, my friends, that you never want to lead someone. You don't want them to say, it's every day, right? When does it occur? How often does it happen? For how long does it last? Not, it lasts all morning? No. Unless they've said it lasts all morning. And then when they give you their answers, their suffering, and you don't understand what they've said to you, because it does happen. Sometimes we just, it's what they're doing is going like this, blah. They need to get it out a lot of times. They've been suffering. They need to give it to someone else even just for a little while. And so it just all comes out all at once. And so sometimes that can be confusing. So it's your job to tease it apart and make sense of it. So let me ask you, I think you said that the most important concern right now is the anxiety, and maybe the second most important concern is the insomnia, and the third most important concern are your joints. Is that right? Do I have it right? Or should I rearrange that a little bit? Because sometimes when someone has the privilege of being able to share with someone their sufferings, it's not coherent. Julia says, I always ask what prescriptions they're on. Then I ask if they mind if I look at the side effects of those, and usually find that the side effects are the problem they want help with. You're absolutely right. So I didn't say that. I don't ask that question because that's in my forms. I ask what meds they're on and for how long and what they're for. I also ask for supplements and vitamins and anything else like that. So yes, that I would ask that in the original form. So we don't even have to spend the time speaking those words. But if that's your way of doing it, Julia, by all means, if you want to just have them answer you verbally. Yeah, and I think you're right. I look at the side effects, and those are usually find that the side effects are the problem they want help with. It's almost a slam dunk, isn't it? But then your job, Julia, is that now you must deal with the condition that she's suffering from that the drugs are supposed to be helping. So she thought it was this, and you're thinking, no, it's a little bit further back. It's a little deeper. How do you handle it when your client frequently has a long story, when you have just asked them a yes or no question, or asked them to rate a symptom 0 to 10? We have a limited amount of time during the appointment, asks Lisa. Well, you can gently say, okay, this is really important, but could you just answer this question? Could you get back to this? Because I'm not sure I completely understand it. And you can keep bringing them back. Because women are, as I said, women are loquacious. There's no doubt about it. Let's see what else we've got. My grown homeopathy kids now come in asking for help, and their request automatically includes worse from, better from, and looks like. You're right, Carrie. You've trained them well. Lighty, Elizabeth says, I've recommended Erin Cooper. Erin Cooper's a graduate from our school and our mastery program. Erin she's on my list of find a practical homeopath, those who have graduated from the academy. And let's see. Hi, Carrie. My young kids are becoming so descriptive like that. It's so true. Ask what homeopathics they've taken. Well, Laura, you're right to a certain degree. And let me tell you why I say only to a certain degree. Because if they're on a homeopathic, you want to know. There's no doubt about that. But if you want to know what they've taken, it's surprising how often homeopathics are taken incorrectly. So maybe you're thinking, this sounds so much like pulsatilla. And then she says, oh, I've already taken pulsatilla. Okay, so what potency? I don't know, maybe it was a 200. And how frequently? Only one dose. And when was it? 3 years ago. But it didn't do any good. Well, that's, in my estimation, it could easily have been because it wasn't repeated. We got to repeat these medicines. We don't give it one time. That's the classical method. And I find that more often than not wanting. It's not always like that, but more often than not, it's wanting. Plus, here's the other part of this. Many times people don't recognize necessarily how they have been helped. Why? Not because they're dim-witted, but because homeopathy can be very, very subtle, and it's taking care of a lot of the planets around the condition, the world around it. So it's getting rid of the warts. It got rid of the aches and pains in the morning. It got rid of the indigestion. But the one thing they came to the homeopath for was anxiety and sleeplessness. They just didn't recognize necessarily, because they have to be trained to watch for this, that the satellite conditions are related to the main condition of the anxiety and sleeplessness. So, Joette, some people are using ChatGPT to find what remedy to take. What would you say to them? Well, go ahead, but now what do you do? I mean, the whole discussion was with, I think it was Elizabeth who said, yeah, but now that you know the medicine, now what do you do after it's been used? Where do we go from that? Because it's all about case management. What do you do at the next appointment? Don't expect, my friends, that ChatGPT or anything like that will be able to deal with the whole case. It might say, I have hives, what should I use? Okay, it's going to come up with apis or urtica urens. Great, no problem. But instead, if they're saying, I have hives every month for the last, for 5 days, for the last 3 years. And in addition to that, I have anxiety and restlessness, etc., etc. And even if ChatGPT could come up with a remedy, it's not going to come up with the whole picture. It takes a human, a human's thoughtfulness and understanding of what to do next. And what we do next is, here's the case now. You took the case. This is what she's described now. You use the medicines that are associated with that. Now in 6 weeks, here's the case, the next level of the case. And it's almost as though you have a translucent level here, and you have to be able to look through and see down what was used and compare to what you're doing now, or how she's experiencing her life now. Are the symptoms what was a 7 in discomfort is now a 4? It's still there. And she might report, you know what, it's still there. So give me a number. What is it like now? And when you compare, and if you could say it was a 7 last time, now it's a 4, we've made our headway. ChatGPT doesn't know enough to say, repeat the medicine, carry on. Yeah, and it also depends on what it's based on. Chat, it does matter. I had my sister-in-law on tellurium and conium for 2 months and stopped because I was afraid it was taking too long to see any improvement. Nothing worse, but nothing better. Well, let me just say that how do you know that it's 2 months that is that's the end? I usually stop if the person is getting worse, or if they're suffering horribly, there's no change and they're suffering horribly, or if the remedy is proving. I had a client that did that and came up with phosphorus. He was nothing like a phosphorus at all, but he loves AI and trusts it. Well, Mindy, when you're thinking about a phosphorus, you're thinking classically. Phosphorus can be very, very useful for people who have no awareness of or no characteristics in their personality at all. Like, they don't have to be artistic. They don't have to be flighty or effervescent or long eyelashes. No, phosphorus can be simply for a nosebleed, epistaxis. That's it. You're done. Phosphorus can be for someone who gets headaches every time a storm comes through. They don't have to fit any of that. And that's the problem with classical, is because it's hemmed us in to thinking that a person must be a phosphorus, a pulsatilla, a nux vomica. Now, it does happen. It does happen, but be careful that you don't dismiss the value of a medicine simply because the keynotes are not lined up with the personality that you're thinking of. Okay. In my understanding, chat is based on information gathered from other people who wrote in their experiences. Oh, really? That's interesting. All righty. I have a client who did that and came up with phosphorus. Okay, got that already. Thank you, Mindy. Phoenicia, yes, studying the repertory Materia Medica for remedies helps to understand the remedies well on a personal level. It certainly does. And when you're studying Materia Medica, friends, don't look for every keynote to be, it'd be impossible for someone to be represented in their personality or their sufferings with every keynote. In fact, you can choose just one keynote and use a medicine specific for a condition that only shows up in one keynote. How about this? Let's use this as an example. The remedy sulfur, when we think of it psychologically, is someone who's very messy and they have odors and they don't care about their appearance and they don't care about the appearance of their home. They can be very generous on one hand and they can be very selfish in another. They have food on them. They let it spill on them. They can be very intellectual. They can be extremely well-read. They're hot and odorous. Okay, got the picture? That is a classical version of sulfur. And it's certainly, we can still utilize some of that information from time to time. But now a woman comes to you who's 50 years old and she's having hot flashes. That's all she's having. She's hot. The first medicine I think to give a woman in that situation is sulfur 30. She doesn't have odor. She's not messy. She's not intellectual. She's not overly, they can also be ambitious. They're not, she's not overly ambitious. Or the opposite, indolent. She's not indolent. So it's none of those other pictures, but it's one of our best medicines for hot flashes. As simple as that. Simply hot flashes. We can do the same thing with pulsatilla. Think about this. Pulsatilla, in the classical format, thinking about the psychology of pulsatilla, we often think of it as a little girl or a young woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. Now, what the heck do we do with that if we're in India? Where are all those blonde-haired, blue-eyed little girls in India? Doesn't work. They crave dairy. They're made worse from dairy. They get stomach aches. They adore ice cream or sour cream or cream cheese. They adore those kinds of things, those cool, creamy kinds of foods. Okay, that's the classical picture. But how about someone who simply goes to a restaurant, and every time they go to a restaurant, or even just the last time they went to a restaurant, they get a stomach ache? Pulsatilla. 6'2" man, dark hair, dark skin, has nothing to do with craving sweets, craving creamy. No, none of that is there. Pulsatilla is one of our best medicines for ailments from restaurant food. See how simple I get? I get what is very complex, and that's how I teach this. I teach this so that it distills down to specific condition, specific medicine. I recently read Boraki's Materia Medica about phosphorus for my Wenke's condition, which because I have severe B1 deficiency will get better with supplementation, but checking with Chat GPT, it said it is an accurate choice, but suggested only one choice, like classical, I would take daily. Well, I don't know what to say. Maybe you give it a try. I mean, you give it a try. Listen, there are programs that you can do. It's the same thing. There are programs. The programs have been around a long time, and you can fill out all the forms and all the information, but it's missing something I think very, very important. My daughter's taking 3 remedies per day to address a stutter. That's the symptom. I'm having a hard time telling if she's getting better because it comes and goes. How would you determine if it's better? How often? How long does it last? And how intense is it? You want each one of those determined before you start the medicine. Happening every day? Is it happening every day? Was it happening every day before it was commenced, before the medicine was commenced? It wasn't. Let's say it was happening every day. Now it's every other day. You've improved greatly. She's improved greatly. It was before she started the medicine. It was happening 3-4 times a day. Now it's happening once every other day. I would say that's improvement. And when it happens, it lasts for a very long time. It lasts a good 10 minutes. It used to last 30 minutes. That's how you know. Less intensity, a righter downer, my friend. Less intensity to the symptom, lasting a shorter period of time and a larger space between each episode. Learning a lot of classical and sequential homeopathy has mostly served to confuse the picture for me, but I'm grateful for what I've learned about the remedies. That's right, history of homeopathy in other areas. You're right, Lisa. You're absolutely right. I was classical for many years, 15 years, full time. I used to be, as I say, I used to be 5'7" until I used classical for 15 years, and now it beat me down to 5 feet. How to manage homeopathy for different issues at the same time? Well, that's all case management. And you learn that through my classes, Joette's Learning Center, and then scroll down to the classes that are specific for conditions or categories of conditions, or join my academy. We are taking applications now. So camphora, for that, my friend took athenolol and got diarrhea, and I suggested that remedy, and diarrhea stopped. You bet, camphora is beautiful. A question I ask, how has your life changed because of this symptom? Yeah, my latest client said she hasn't driven since April because of her head injury and hasn't been able to go into work. That helped us come to a higher number with the 0 to 10 rating for the symptom. You bet it does. You bet it does. Still don't give her the number though, Lisa, and I'm sure you didn't. Start with the most pressing symptoms. Let's see what else we've got. I recently read that. Dairy lover here, but dairy hates me. I have to tell you, Jenny, pretty much the whole world adores dairy. It's a very difficult food group to stay away from. And many people suffer from it. And if you go to Joette's Learning Center and scroll down to Good Gut, Bad Gut. Let's see. B1 deficiency, says Sandra D. Let me just tell you, B1 deficiency is just a matter of eating foods with plenty of B vitamins in it. If the body's not uptaking the foods properly, then you treat it homeopathically. But if there's a B deficiency, my friend, my guess is there's no meat in the diet, or very little red meat. Red meat, and more red meat. Plus eggs, and no, eggs I don't know if it has B1. But red meat certainly has. So bison, lamb, beef. Okay. Pulsatilla frequency is located here for one option in this blog. Okay, so Franisha's sharing a blog. One of my blogs, I think I remember the magic markers by asking myself, what's the DIF in a case? Duration, intensity, and frequency. You're absolutely right, Elizabeth. Good point. Very good point. Let's see if we've got any other. How are we doing on time? Oh my goodness, I have to dash off. Okay, I think we're finished for tonight. Boy, how did this go by so quickly? It's amazing. Such good questions. It's great being with you. Thank you for being with me, friends. This is one of my great joys in life. I love Monday nights. And I hope that you'll join me in other venues as well. Remember, we also have podcasts and my blog. And the blog I've been authoring that blog for, I think we counted 14 years, every single week, never missed a week. And so you'll get a lot of great information there at no cost. And then the next thing, if you haven't gone this far, I urge you to join my Gateway to Homeopathy. This is always all on Joette's Learning Center. Joette's Learning Center. And there you'll find plenty of great information. All right. There we go. Great to see you, friends. God bless you all. See you next week.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary with arnica head, arsenicum fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more infirm. My family needs me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, cali caponicum, let it melt on your gumbo, vista weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.